Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Taking a look here at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on. Just kind of brushing you up to speed on what happened earlier today, and obviously if there's any updates since then, we're going to talk about that. Simply put, when we were last looking at this, it was kind of hanging around in that 67K range, that low range. The anticipation was the price likely to continue higher and to effectively reject off of 68,000. So far that's happened. We see a wick up here to 67,950 and potentially continuation or a rejection. We're going to see if that's likely or what's going on. What are the contributing factors here too? We do take a look at our previous analysis here. We could see that we were doing pretty poorly this morning and have since recovered a little bit. So we're going to see if that is sustainable or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look. Oh, quick little heads up too. When we last look at this here, 66,000 does have a lot of liquidation. That is the 7-day look back there. And also the delta was starting to shift bearishly as well. We'll see if that's still maintaining itself. So if you're new to the channel, just want to say welcome on board. Hope you can enjoy yourself, learn something, whatever the case is. Basically, thank you again so much for being an awesome part of my life. And also don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps grow the channel. Gets us in front of more people. I'm getting maybe anywhere between 75 to 100 likes per video. It's actually been pretty nice lately. That is a good consistency, so I appreciate you all very much for doing that. Even though we get a lot more views than that, and it could help to do more. It's all right, folks. I appreciate you nonetheless. This is awesome stuff. So on the left-hand side, let's look at the last 7 days, see what's going on. Pretty much the same scenario, if not even more. We can see we got probably a lot more longs here, late longs in the market, longing at 67,000. I totally get it. That's a key level support. Makes sense to go ahead and do that. I would anticipate Bitcoin to be range bound between 67 to 68,000 until it either breaks towards 66,000 or back up towards 69 to 70. Based on liquidation, though, it makes a lot more sense for the price to go a little bit lower based on that, just the simple sense that we have a lot of late longs, so to speak, that could very well get destroyed. But bigger picture, there's still a lot of liquidation at just shy of 70,000. So we got what? Each one of these bars, there's 3 bars. They're all about $7 to $9 billion. That's quite a lot. Okay, folks, that's somewhere in the range of 25 billion just in that little section alone. As we can see, shorts are starting to accumulate a little bit more. This isn't an aggressive accumulation, it's kind of plateaued, but the more time we spend in this range, my guess is we're going to start to see more shorts start to accumulate. Okay, that could be good or bad depending on how you look at it, but for right now it's positive. And once more, our open interest remains the same at 67,000. So nothing here has really changed. Really just implies that a lot of folks at 67K are in the green for the moment. And just keep in mind, market makers are really good at changing that dynamic and making sure that you pay for being a late long or in some cases late short. But right now, I think late longs are going to get still have a little bit more pain coming. And that's really what it boils down to, is just how much pain can you sustain. The market makers are really good at that. Either way, from before, this hasn't changed much. We rejected off 70 on the RSI, basically just telling us we have that resistance level at 69.5 or 70,000 as a round number. Stochastic's pulling back. Money flow index is below the RSI, generally unfavorable. When it comes to moving averages, we are above all moving averages, so that hasn't changed at all. It probably won't for a little while. We can see this 20-day SMA running concurrent with this ascending trend line. In fact, I drew this trend line out based on that SMA from earlier today. So if you're curious as to why we're still maintaining above when earlier we weren't, it's just kind of a newer trend line essentially, running parallel with a larger moving average, or I guess smaller moving average on a larger time frame. Okay, so again, the 20-day SMA on the daily really helps us understand if we're looking good or if we're looking bad. While we're above it, generally construed as a positive sign, and we are more likely to increase than decrease. It doesn't mean the price is going to shoot up right now, and it doesn't imply that the price couldn't still pull back. Please understand that being on this side of this tracks here, 64.5 is still a very likely candidate for retracement. The reason why I say that is because that is a 0.618 fib level. The golden pocket's right there between 64.5 and 65.3. So there's a solid chance we could see that, or at the very least, see our local high retested as a new low. So my money is on 66,000 getting swept based on that, in addition to this heavy concentration of liquidation that's continuing to grow, right? So the more longs that accumulate there, the more dangerous it becomes. So let's take a quick look here at the 4-hour time frame and double check that we are still below the 20-day SMA. We broke below that earlier today, but also maintaining above the 50. Now keep in mind, folks, these SMAs, contrary to popular thought process, they're not support levels. They're just kind of give us an idea of the range and the trend that we're in, okay? So truth is, while prices can kind of hover around those areas, if they consistently retest it, it's going to get broken just like a support or resistance level. So they're more like ranges and or just trend setters than anything else. Being below the 20 on the 4-hour really gives us indication that, hey, we're finally breaking to the downside. Again, it's not necessarily going to be a monumental run. It may not happen at all. But generally speaking, when you see the price action break above the 20, it does pretty good stuff. When it breaks below the 20, it does pretty bad stuff. Okay, so generally the concept is the same. Now, it's not always exact. In these transitions like we're seeing right now, when price is kind of topping out, a lot of times you'll see some false positives with them SMAs. So I would not get put too much weight or emphasis on them. It's important to use them in combination with other indicators, which you really should do with every indicator. You don't just find a red or a green dot and go long or short because some millionaire online is showing you how awesome it is to trade with 10, 20, 30, 40x leverage, right? Please, please, please pump the brakes. If you treat this like a business, you'll get a lot better results, okay? And again, treating it like a business is more so just using proper risk tolerance and making sure that you're not just doing everything else that everyone else says. And that should go for me too. Like, see what I say, obviously make an informed decision, but make it your own decision too, and use your own analysis as a result of maybe considering mine, right? I think it's important to do that. Don't just put too much in one thing. That goes for me too. So RSI, money flow index is pretty high, but RSI is pretty low. Generally, that's a favorable sign, but being under 50 on the RSI, not a good sign. This is a type of divergence I like to try to avoid because it's kind of giving us a false positive. Keep in mind, today's Monday, we had lower volume this weekend, even though we had a unique kind of pump this weekend to that 69.5 mark. When Asian markets opened last night, we can see the MFI is thrown off here. Now, I know it seems kind of weird and strange, but Mondays are always going to have that because we have low volume weekends, and the money flow index can kind of be, it looks higher on Mondays than it's supposed to, okay? Take my word for it, that's not really a good sign here. Being under 50 on the RSI is what you want to look at, and that is, my opinion personally, carries more weight, and that's more relevant here, letting us know we've broken somewhat to the bearish side of things. Stochastic's trying to swing up. That's normal, that knee-jerk reaction when you come down to a key level support like 67,000. And of course, the MACD is still kind of diverging / plateauing. So there's nothing crazy there really, but it's still pretty obvious to me that we haven't broken bullish, and we won't for a little while. And here's the reason why I believe that. While we have filled majority of our fair value gap here on the hourly, I would say 68,000 is again that level. We haven't seen that yet. We can recognize the simple fact of the matter is, and let me go ahead and pull this other chart up here. We can recognize that we're underneath the cloud, right? And that's generally construed as a support or resistance zone. And then the lagging spans free and clear and conversion line is way below the baseline. We're still in a situation now where there's absolutely no reason to take a long. At least not now that we're closer to 68K. All right, so again, range bound, taking a long at 67, short, and then closing, opening a short at 68. Those are things you can work with when we're in a range. Right now, though, now that we're in the top end of that range, it makes no sense to take a long. Am I proposing you take a short? Perhaps. You're going to find more success based on the overall sentiment right now, taking a short than a long. It's just kind of the consensus here. And the main reason why I can, to me, is more so these confirming factors. If you look here, if you're kind of curious how the Ichimoku cloud works, maybe you haven't watched my instructional video yet, you can simply understand it this way. When you're above the cloud, it's generally construed as a positive sign, okay? So the cloud's been going like this the whole time, and until you break soundly below the lower lead here, there's no reason to consider taking a short. We are now below the cloud, all right? And there's no reason to consider taking a long into that because that's the new resistance. And I guess it's not all that simple. I'm not just using this one indicator to essentially consider taking a short or a long. There's a lot of contributing factors we looked at. More specifically, liquidation, back-end data, the delta's way too, it's off, right? All those things combined lead me to believe that we're going to see further downside. I didn't touch on this. I touched on this earlier today, but I skipped over it a moment ago. There is a fair value gap down as low as about 63.5. So it seems like a likelihood that we're going to see at the very least 66,000, but potentially even 64.5 or possibly even lower to this 63,000 range. Okay, again, because there's a lot of value there. The price wicked up here way too fast, roughly a week ago, last Monday, if you recall. Okay, so again, a lot of reasons why we're still in good shape, but we have a lot of reasons also that we should continue lower. And I know, it's a total mind blower, right? How can a coin be bullish and bearish at the same time? Well, truth is, you're usually best to try to avoid taking a trade depending on your overall strategy when those things happen. We're getting too many conflicting informations here, or too much rather. And me personally, even though we opened a short earlier today, we're close to our entry. That is taken with the understanding that we're going to have more of a micro bearish scenario here. Okay, so while the overall trend is still good, you can still consider taking trades in the other direction based on the simple fact that there's a stronger likelihood from what we've seen here so far. Okay. Cool. All right. Anyways, just kind of throwing all that stuff out there so you can become an educated trader, of course. You want more for yourself, obviously, cryptocash.tag is a site link down below. Don't forget to join us over at Bitunix too if you haven't already. Link down below. These guys are awesome. Excellent reward bonus for a no KYC and or VPN required exchange. All right. We'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have yourself a great rest of your day. Take care.